Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Journal with Erin and Lawrence. However, Lawrence, as you can see, is not here. He's not feeling well. So we wish him well and hope he gets better really, really soon. But I could not cancel this podcast because I have the most special guest that I'm so excited to talk to, Russell Robinson from the University of Kansas, from New York City, from Gauchos, from overseas. He's amazing, talented, and thank you so much for being here, Russell.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I'm missing the Miami game, missing Kimber, so for sure, I'm definitely happy to be here.
Awesome. So there's so much that I want to talk about, and I know Lawrence had a bunch of questions too that he had put into our note. But I think the first thing that we should talk about is just kind of your. I want to talk about your journey just in general. So first, let's start. You're from the Bronx, right?
Yep.
Okay, so born and raised in the Bronx, and you attended Rice High School.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Correct.
And then you were recruited by multiple schools, and then ended up choosing the one, the only Rock Chalk Jayhawk,
Yeah.
University
Yeah.
of Kansas. So talk to us a little bit about your basketball journey, how it started, where you got started, and take us through all the way up through KU.
Well, so I actually grew up in Harlem. So
Okay.
as a kid, I grew up in Harlem. My grandmother lived in the Bronx. So when anybody asks me where I'm from, I just rep the Bronx because that's where I spend most
Got
of the
it.
time at. Because that's where my grandmother lived. She babysat during the summertime while my
Okay.
mom worked. So initially, I grew up 172nd in the concourse.
Nice.
Initially, the goal was just to get off the block, to be the best
Right.
person on your block. That's kind of how New York is. There's so many different neighborhoods and everything. So that's where it initially started. I just really wanted to be the best on my block. And then there was a lot going on in the city at that time. 1998 was the year that I actually started taking basketball real serious.
Okay.
And during that time period, gang violence had really escalated in the city.
Okay.
So one thing to combat that is if you're good at basketball, you kind of got a pass. You can go anywhere you want. So everybody that was somebody was, at least trying to see if they was good at basketball.
Right.
So I was one of those guys, and I was tall for my age, and so I actually I took it. I played in a little tournament on my street, and then I went on in, and then I went from there. I got with Gauchos, and
Right.
the rest is history. So that's
Nice.
kind of how it started right there.
I have to tell you, I stopped by for the very first time, actually, the Gauchos gym last year. And I was meeting, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Scooter Thomas at the City of Guards there, and it's Magic Mel and
Oh yeah,
Reem.
I seen him on Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
not.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, so I was actually going there to meet him to pick up some of his merch, and Mel was working out. And as soon as I walked in the door, I look up, and there is your jersey framed, and I lost my mind, and I was all excited,
yeah,
taking pictures. I was posting it on my story on Instagram, and I was like, everywhere I go, Kansas always pops up in the best places. That's because we're the best. So anyway, talk a little bit about your time at Gauchos.
yeah. So I played for a neighborhood team called Chico All Stars, and we
Okay.
played against the Gauchos. When I played against the Gauchos, they had a kid named they had a couple guys, Mike Franklin, Kevin Winters. Kevin Winters was like the number one player in the city at that time in seventh grade. So Gauchos had a name. It was Gaucho or Riverside, top two teams in
Yep.
the city.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hands down, was no arguing, no debating. So we played against them, and they actually beat us. So I actually went to go try out for Riverside. Went to Riverside, and then I got over to Gauchos. I don't know how. It was just like kind of like one of those
Yeah.
just fluke things. And then once I actually got to Gauchos, it was like this is where I need to be at. Kevin Winters kind of took me under his wing, him, Mo Walters, and those guys. And then we got with our coach, eventually Mark Jones, and he invited over Sunyata Gaines when he recruited him.
Okay.
And Ronald Ramon came into the gym. And then from there, we just built the team. We went to the Nationals in 1989 in Memphis,
Oh,
and we won the
nice.
national tournament, AAU tournament. So
Oh, nice.
once you win that tournament,
Yeah.
at that age, that's all the best players and the best ages at that tournament. So once you win that, that's kind of where it kind of just took off. Like, oh, this is where we need to be at, and that we're serious and
Right.
we something to play with. So from then on, that's when we kind of took off and took over the city.
So how do you think that Gauchos experience and being able to go play at nationals and winning, how did that help you prepare for the whole college experience and even were you in high school at the same time? Were you playing Gauchos and at Rice or?
I wasn't at Rice yet, so I started playing this. I started playing with Gauchos in 7th grade.
Oh,
So
what? So
uh,
you won the
yeah,
nationals in 7th grade? You hadn't even gone to high school
seventh
yet.
grade. Yeah, 13-0.
Wow.
We won it. We won the whole thing, and it kind of caught us all by surprise because
Okay.
when we went to Memphis, we stayed in the Motel 6, and we stayed in the Motel 6, and it was we only had two rooms for the players. So that's how they thought we were just gonna go
What?
down there, play a couple games, and come back. But once we made the finals around, everybody had their own room. It was like, okay, now it's something
Wow.
serious.
All
So
right.
yeah,
Nice.
it was kind of unexpected, but we beat the team that won it the year before us, and then that's when everybody knew that we was a for real team. And so winning was the number one thing. That's what got us all the attention. That's what got us,
Got it.
all the escalades. That's when we came back to the city with the confidence, and it all
Okay.
started from winning. So
Okay,
that's when I
perfect.
learned.
So then how does that translate to high school? So talk about Rice and why Rice and how tell us a little bit about that whole experience.
Well, well, if you're from New York and you're from that area I am, you kind of come down between Rice and St. Raymond's for
R-
all the players.
yes.
And so, uh, my main thing with me, I won the nationals at 13. I went to the championship at 14. So when I was going into high school, like I had already made a name for myself nationally. So my ranking in the city was number two. Nationally, I was top 20. I would say
Wow.
at that time. So my thing is obviously if you're in my class, you was chasing Sebastian. He was the number one player.
Right.
He was getting all the hype. He
Yep.
was doing a lot of big things. So Sebastian's going to be starting varsity wherever he goes. So
Hmm.
my thing when choosing my high school was, hey, I need to be trying to play varsity as soon as I can, as fast as I can, because when you leave the city, all the top players are playing varsity as a freshman.
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind of where that started. And then St. Raymond's was one of those schools that said, hey, we're not playing for freshmen on varsity, no matter how good
Got
you
it.
are. And they
Okay.
had a lot of good players in front of me to kind of like say, hey, Julius Hodge didn't play varsity. Alan Ray didn't play varsity. You know what I'm saying? So these
Right.
guys didn't play varsity. So it was kind of like, hey, you're not going to play either. We
Okay.
don't care how good you are. So Rice was the only school that was kind of like, hey, we'll give you that chance. We'll give you that opportunity, to play varsity as a freshman. So, and, that's what it came down to. And then plus I grew up in Harlem, just the whole Gaucho connection, the whole, the area,
Yeah.
being able to get back and forth and everything, that kind of made it a lot easier decision for me.
Nice. Okay. So then I know you have some records. I don't have them memorized, but I know you definitely had some records at Rice and you definitely had a good playing career there, which obviously prepared you for the whole process of, the recruiting process and looking for colleges. So I would love for you to talk about kind of what your goal was leaving high school. Your goal was obviously to play in college. What were you looking for in a team, in a program, in a coach? What were the major things that were important to you as a player?
Winning, that was the number one thing. It, it it helped me in my AAU days. It helped me in my high school days. Rice was a winning program, known for winning. Even though I only got one state championship, we had that winning mentality. So when I was choosing my college, the main thing is who's going to allow me the opportunity to one them play soon and win as big as I can. So
Okay.
when I evaluated my options, I was trying to win as soon as I can. A national championship is one of those things. You want to make it to the Final Four. You want to be on the big stage. You want everybody looking at you. Exposure is what's going to get me, that look at the NBA. So I felt like winning is the fastest way to do that. So that was my main criteria for choosing my school was who's going to give me the best opportunity to win at the biggest stage. So
Okay, so talk about the difference. What were your different choices? So obviously Kansas was one of them. Were there other schools that came down like in the running that you were like trying to decide between, or was it an instant I fell in love with Kansas?
no, I mean I fell in love with Kansas from the beginning, but yeah, I had five other schools, and some of the other schools have been recruiting me, longer than Kansas was.
Mm.
So I had Georgia Tech, UConn, Kansas, Kentucky, and St. John. So that was my top 5.
Okay.
Going into my junior year, I had a whole bunch of other schools, Notre Dame and Florida State, a lot of other big schools. But once my tier got a little higher, those other schools seen that, hey, it was going to be a little harder for me to get you, so they just kind of dropped out. And I kind of just left with my top. I did with my top 5, and I dealt with them up until I kind of made my decision. So I visited UConn first. That was my first visit.
Okay.
I went up there.
Yeah.
It was good. Everybody, they had a good winning program at the time. They had some good players. They had good talent. They style of play probably fit me better than all of the schools that was recruiting me. And it was a little New York history there where Ben Gordon had just went up there. So it was a good situation. Only thing about UConn was that they was recruiting AJ Price.
Okay.
Me and AJ was going through the recruitment process together, so we was kind of close. They obviously liked him more than me. So for me wanting to be a point guard at the next level, I was kind of like, I was a 2 guard in high school. So most schools were recruiting me to play the 2 and 1. So
got it.
When it came to UConn, it was kind of like, you love AJ, you like me. I don't want to go into a situation where you love a guy more than you love me. So. I just didn't want that. Even though me and AJ had played together and we played together well, it was kind of one of those things I kind of want to branch off and do my own thing and get into the point guard role. And then so when it came down to my decision, it really came down between Georgia Tech and Kansas.
Okay, so what did you like about Georgia Tech?
I loved everything about Georgia Tech.
Okay.
I loved everything. Georgia Tech was the first visit that I scheduled. They were specific about when they wanted me to come there, and they made sure that I scheduled them first. And I went down on Black College Weekend. If you're familiar with 106 and Park.
Yep.
Free and AJ.
Yep.
They had they was down there.
Okay.
They had the Battle of the Bands.
Nice.
It's like drumline. It was the city was jumping.
Right.
And I went down there on that visit, and I want to say I probably had too much fun. It was like, this is home all over again. This is a lot to get into. This is going to be tough to focus. And so I loved it. I loved it too much. And then they had Jared Jack and Will Bynum at the time.
Okay.
I think Jared Jack was a sophomore. Will Bynum had just transferred from Arizona. I think he might have been a sophomore as well. But they were good. And those two on my visit made it clear, like, hey, I'm out of here, man. So you come, it's gonna be your town, your city after we leave, because they made it clear to me that, hey, after this year, I'm out. I'm going to the league, and I had been familiar with Jared Jack from playing with him in the Jordan camp in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And Jared Jack was good, but I just didn't want to put my future in his hands, And he changed his mind. Hey, I want to come back to school now. I got to play with you an extra 2 years. It was kind of like, I want to control my own destiny kind of thing. And then it was not only him, but Will Bynum as well. Those are 2 tough guards that I respected growing up. So I was like, ooh, I don't want to put my future in their hands. So, Coach Self did a great job recruiting me, making me feel comfortable. Coach Roberts did a great job recruiting me. So when I went to Kansas, it was everything that when I went on the visit, it was everything that I was looking for.
Which is?
It was more culturally diverse. It was more culturally diverse than, Atlanta was at the time. And it was giving me, what I didn't get in New York. It was just like an introduction to a whole different world,
Yes,
So I kind of wanted to, one of my main things as a, young 18-year-old was to grow as a man, because the basketball I felt like was going to take care of itself. I go in the gym, I work hard, I win. That's going to take care of itself, but I still wanted to be able to grow as a person off the court. Because when I did my college recruitment, I could barely hold the conversation with. If you wasn't from New York, I couldn't hold the conversation with you.
Really?
I was kind of like that. Yeah, I was kind of like that New Yorker. We talk fast. We got our own lingo.
Yes.
And I could barely hold. I could barely hold a conversation if you wasn't from New York. But I kind of knew that I needed to develop that and I needed to go, somewhere that was going to help me, mature that. So
Right. So it's more than just basketball. So obviously there's an
more than
education there too, for sure. But I like what you're saying, because you're talking about life experiences, and
yeah,
it's definitely something to call out to those people who are listening, parents or younger players, that you have to keep that in mind, right? Like there's a lot of factors that you need to consider when you're looking at these schools. And I think you also made a really good point about going down to Georgia Tech, and you had the intelligence and wherewithal to realize that you might find yourself a little distracted in a place that you can have
yeah,
that much fun. So that's really great that you were able to recognize that. And I'm sure your parents played a role in some of this as well. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
My mom wanted me to go to UConn. She just wanted me to be close to home.
Right. Of course.
Um, she wanted me to be close to home and be had access to me. Um, and my dad, he loved Kansas. Emotionally, it triggered something that, hey, we can win here and we can win here big,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
it's just
okay.
different.
Okay,
It's
so tell
levels.
me about your visit, your first time going to KU, because I went, obviously I've been there, and I went to high school in Kansas, and I'm
Yeah,
very, very familiar, far too familiar with the campus at too
yeah,
young of an age. But anyway, that's a different story. But so I remember what it was like for me, and I'm not a basketball player, walking onto campus for the first time and seeing Allen Fieldhouse for the first time. So tell me about that experience, and did you like fall in love at first sight, or how? Talk to me about it.
well, they had flew me. It's an hour drive from the
Yes.
airport. So
Right.
I
Right.
flew in the night before
Okay.
my visit started. So it was dark coming in, so I didn't get to see anything. I just kind of got to the hotel, went to sleep, and then I woke up the next day and started my visit. And it was weird because this visit was different than all the other ones, because I shared my visit. It was me, Quentin Thomas, who was another point guard.
Uh huh.
He wound up going to North Carolina. It was me, him, and I think CJ Giles was supposed to come, but he didn't come. So it was
Okay.
supposed to be like three people all having a visit at the same time. So this was kind of weird because I didn't really expect it. Every other school was kind of like, yo, everything's about you. We only want you.
Mm,
So it was kind of like, all right, wow, this is different.
okay.
So when I got there, it was one of those things where they had, Quentin Thomas had his family there. I had my family there, and we both were sitting there kind of enjoying the visits. We heard the Coach Self was there talking to both of us. Like,
Okay.
hey, and I was kind of like waiting to see like, yo, who you like more, like, it gave me kind of to see like, all right, you lying to me or what you saying to me, like,
Right. Right. Right.
so I got to see firsthand that, okay, that he being completely honest with both families, on what he wants or what he expect, or
Yeah.
where we at in the recruitment. And he was honest. Like, I love Russell. We've been watching him for a long time. We was looking at him in Illinois. This is what he's telling to the other family.
Right.
And they receive it honestly. Because it's the truth. And
Yeah.
so that right there gave me a little bit of a lot more respect. Not that they was hiding or lying or anything behind the scenes.
Right.
So
But
that was weird. So then we go to the football game.
uh
We play Missouri.
okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we play Missouri. So
Okay.
this is
That's a big rivalry.
it's a
Well, it
big
was at the time. Yes.
it's a big rivalry. And we won. So
Nice.
we KU won that game, and they rushed the field.
Uh huh.
They jumped in the lake. They did everything
Yeah.
that I was, because whoever was hosting us, whoever took us to the football game, we lost them because we was on the field. Me
That's
and
so
Quentin was like in the
funny.
middle of all the craziness, and we wound up walking our way back to Allen Fieldhouse, but me and him was just lost. We ain't know what to do. We
Oh
just
yeah,
followed the
and that's
crowd.
it's big. Yeah, there you go. Follow the crowd.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
yeah, and it was like, if they acting like this for football, can you imagine what they're gonna do for the basketball
Exactly, because
at
I
that
was
time?
just about to say, for those of you who don't know, Kansas
Yeah,
Kansas football is not where it's at. Let me tell you, that is not
yeah,
that is not why you go to Kansas.
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah,
So that is that's a great story though. So, that's interesting. I obviously never played for Bill Self, and I've only met him a couple of times. But I was very impressed with how straightforward he is. When I did meet him, he was incredibly honest and straightforward and kind of just told it how it was. But in such a charming way. He's very good about the way that he presents the information. So I definitely like that. And I think that's cool that he's a straight shooter, because I do think, especially coming from New York, I feel like you can respect that a bit more than
I mean, especially at that age, these are the traits that we use to survive New York City, you know.
Right.
So I could tell when you're lying. I could tell when you beating around the bush. I could tell when you're not honest. I got to know these things because this is what's going to help me survive, you know, this my neighborhood that I'm growing up in. So so it was one of those things where that that I just knew that this was a big decision and that I needed to give it up my all, going into it. So I felt real comfortable making that decision to go to KU.
Okay, so you met with Self. You obviously toured the facilities. You saw Allen Fieldhouse. Was there anything else? And obviously the fun experience at the football game. But was there, and what you've already shared with your interactions with Self, but like, was there anything else that really drew you there?
So, like, I had been on 2 visits already. So, and one thing about the KU visit that it was different than the other ones was that when we went to events, the whole team went. The whole team.
Interesting. I like that.
The whole team was at every event.
Okay.
You know, so I wasn't. So I go to UConn. They get me with Talik Brown. They get me with one guy, and then one guy just showing me around. And I might see 1 or 2 other guys. Same with Georgia Tech. Me and Jared Jack, Will Bynum, we all gonna hang out. I might not see the other players, but at KU we did everything. Everything was done as a team. So I was recruited by essentially the whole team. So
I like that.
It was like that. Yeah, I like that too. It was that family atmosphere.
Right.
And
also I was going to ask you a question too, because how much you had talked about the other players that were on the other visits, or you knew, like, your friend at UConn. So how much of a factor was it the current players on the roster, but then also the incoming or possible incoming players that you knew that you're kind of competing against? You have to kind of take all of that into consideration as well, right?
Yeah, correct. So that's another thing that was another thing about Georgia Tech. I didn't like who I would have been going into school with.
Got it.
At that time, the ACC was hands down the toughest basketball league. I didn't want to go into the ACC, kind of shorthanded. I would have been possibly playing against, the Dukes and the Carolinas.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be. I just felt like I was been doing that by myself. I didn't like the recruiting class that I had. So at Kansas, we had the number 1 recruiting class. So I was confident in the group that we had and the work that the staff had put in. So that was another deciding factor too. So, but yeah, when I met the guys, I met Aaron Miles. I think Aaron Miles might have been one of the first people I met.
He's so nice.
Very confident. So nice. So confident. And it was very different than Jerry Jack and Will Bynum, who was more kind of like competitive, real focused on them. Aaron Miles kind of like put himself to the side and kind of was, put me kind of first, kind of like, hey, I guess he was a little older. I guess he wasn't, he was a senior going into a senior year.
Yeah.
So he kind of took me on his wing, kind of showed me the whole thing, and I felt real comfortable with him. And Keith Langford also.
Yep.
And then they had J.R. Giddens at the time. J.R. Giddens, if you don't know, is a personality. So I was like, if they can deal with him, then they could be able to deal with me from New York. So I felt real good about it. But they did everything as a team, moved as a team. Everybody was on the same court. Like, everybody knew all the same stuff. It wasn't like anything was fake. It was all authentic, and it was a lot of love shown. So that was kind of one of the things I wanted to be a part of.
I did not know this. I'm learning something new about Kansas, and that just gives me another reason to love them that much more. So thank you for sharing that. But you said Coach Roberts was there, right? He helped.
Coach Roberts recruited me. Yeah, he recruited me.
So, and he's a New Yorker, so you had to feel somewhat confident in that too, right? Like,
I mean, he had been recruiting me since they was at Illinois, so I was already comfortable with him.
Right.
He was from New York, but I don't really think that really mattered to me.
Right.
He's from two different eras.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like it's not really the same, but he did a great job. Keeping in contact with me once they got over to Kansas, and even just just establishing that, that relationship with me and my parents to where we felt comfortable, staying with him. But yeah, he was a great recruiter, but he wound up not coming to Kansas. He wound up getting a head coaching job at St. John's, so I never really got to play for him.
Oh,
So that was
I see. I
kind of
see.
tough.
Right.
Yeah.
Illinois, Kansas, St. John's, and then he went back. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah, he went back. Yeah, he went back. Yeah,
I
after I was
forgot
gone.
about
Yeah.
that. I forgot about that. Okay, cool. So let's talk about, so we went through the whole recruiting process. So now tell me about how you finally officially made the decision to choose KU and how that went. Like,
So
how do you do that?
so
Walk me through it.
so I get back from so the visit was unbelievable.
Right.
Me and Quentin both had a great time. Um, and it was great. And so I had been to Georgia Tech. I had been to UConn already. I had Kentucky scheduled the next weekend. So and that
Okay.
would have been their Midnight Madness.
Ooh.
So I had Kentucky scheduled the next week. So I had I had felt like, okay, this is it once I was at Kansas. So it was kind of like I didn't really want to. The process is as great as it is. It's a tough process. It gets stressful. It's a
Right.
big, big, monkey, like something on your back. Like you're gonna just, hey, I need to make this decision and get it done with,
Right.
so I can move on and get ready for my season. But yeah, so I got back from my KU visit. I was about to walk into my high school, and the assistant coach from Georgia Tech is sitting in front of the door. So at Rice, you got Brother Sherlock is greeting all the students 8 o'clock in the morning, and right next to Brother Sherlock was the assistant from Georgia Tech, and
Oh my
obviously
goodness.
he knew I had just went to
Right. To
Kansas,
Kansas.
and so it was kind of like, oh, this is a a tough situation. It was like, all right, like I kind of didn't want to play around with it anymore. I felt I've kind of me and my dad kind of made that decision because initially I went to the Kansas visit by myself. I got there the first day. I was like, yeah, Dad, this might be it. And then he flew out the same the next
Oh,
that day.
okay.
So it
Nice.
was kind of like once I got there, kind of like, yo, I know this is kind of it right
It
here.
felt right.
I
It
felt
just,
right.
yeah.
So yeah, so him, my dad, and Paul Brown. Once I got to Kansas, after that first day, I'm like, yeah, you need to get out here and check this out because this might be it. And for sure, he flew out that same day, got there that
Wow.
night, and yeah, he was. It was like okay, and then
I
I
love
just
that.
at that point once I seen the coach there, I was like, all right, yeah, it's this my decision is kind of made. I had too much fun in Atlanta. Had I not had as much fun, it
Right.
was kind of like a next level,
Yeah.
kind of fun. Like I could really get into some, some mess, kind of stuff. So I kind of want to just
Right.
keep everything basketball,
Yeah.
have basketball fun, and be a student and enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah, so I made once I seen the Georgia Tech coach at school, I was like, oh, I gotta make my decision,
right.
and then made my decision that morning. Told him, hey, I'm gonna go with Kansas. I let Kansas know, and obviously got to call out other schools and let
Let
them
them
know
know.
that, hey,
Right.
I'm not going in there, right, going with you guys, and you know, and that's what it was.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're at Kansas. You get to do the like infamous Bill Self pre-training camp that he
Oh, boot camp?
the boot camp, yeah, that he is well known for. Did you puke?
No, I
Oh,
went to Rice. We
okay.
had the hardest practice. That's the hardest practices ever at Rice.
Oh yeah. Okay, so that's good.
Yeah,
So I
boot camp is not one of those things that scare me. The toughest thing about boot camp is just the literally waking up at 5:30 in the morning.
yeah.
That's probably the number one, the toughest thing about it. And then after that is you actually have to go to class and
Right.
do all your stuff as a regular
As a
student
student, right.
after that. Yeah,
That's
so
yeah.
that's the hardest part. But the actual suicides and the mental toughness that I seen a lot of my teammates have, I didn't have in my first boot camp. It was really easy for me.
So
But
that's kind of a great shout out to Rice and then also hopefully New York City basketball in general, although things have changed. You know, since the 90s, but it's basketball in general has changed, but youth basketball especially has changed, and it has changed in New York City. But I'd like to think that there are still coaches here in the city that are mentally and physically preparing players to be able to walk into a D1 boot camp and be able to survive and hopefully not puke, because a lot of them are are hanging over the garbage can.
A lot of everybody was.
Yeah.
You hear, you got to run 30 suicides. Mentally, people couldn't wrap their mind around it.
Right.
But I'm looking like, I get 35 seconds. I mean, and I was at Rice. We only had like 28. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
7
so you're
seconds.
like, I got this.
This is light.
So I definitely, there's so much more we could talk about. We don't have all night. I wish we did, but I want to jump forward to there's a couple of things that I definitely want to touch on. So clearly you made a very great decision with KU, not just because I'm a huge fan and I love KU, but you ended up spending 4 years there and you ended up winning a national championship. I mean, not everybody gets to say that. And not only did you win it, you won it with Kansas, with Bill Self. And that was one of the first times ever, actually, that all 4 seeds in the Final Four were 1 seeds. And you ended up winning and playing against Memphis to win the 2008 national championship. So tell me a little bit about that experience and preparing for that stage, because yes, you're new. So listen, I feel like players from New York City, you guys get it. Like there's a lot of swag, there's a lot of attention here. We have a lot of stars that come through here who pop out at the games. Like you never know who's going to show up, especially playing street ball in the summer here. So you guys are used to a lot of that fanfare, and I guess even now, so more today with social media and everything. So I think being from New York is also helpful in moments like those. But how did you, prepare? How did the team prepare? How do you mentally prepare for all of that and then come out national champions?
Well, the process of getting there was hard. I can't lie.
Right.
You go to Kansas to win national championships. That's kind of that's what you expect. So when you fall short of that, it's kind of like a disappointment in a sense.
Yes.
Even though the fans still love you, whether you win one or not. That was kind of big too. And now 08 run. So it took me a while. It took me to my senior year to get to the Final Four. So when I was making my decisions, I had Aaron Miles, Keith Langford. They had been to 3 Final Fours already. You know what I'm saying? And this is what they was used to this already.
Right.
I looked at them and they had a different confidence than everybody else that I went on visits with. So I was like, I need to be at a school where I can get to the Final Four often. Right. So they probably would have won it if it wasn't for that Syracuse and Carmelo Anthony.
Yes.
Yeah, but they have been to the Final Fours already. So I was like, all right, this is where I want to be. So my senior year, once we got there, we had paid our dues. We didn't have some up and down seasons.
Yeah.
And we had a team built for that, and it was one of those things where North Carolina had a great team. They was number 1 in the country all year.
Yep.
But I just felt like we was better than them, and once you actually get to the Final Four, there's really no pressure because now you got all the top tier teams. Everybody. You played against everybody in AAU. You watch everybody on TV, so you're comfortable. Playing at Kansas is tougher when you play against a Bucknell or a Bradley.
Got
and
it.
You never seen these people before.
Yes.
You got a week of of so those games are tougher for us.
Definitely, and there's a lot more pressure because Kansas should never be losing to those games.
We should never be losing, and I've never seen you. I got like a week of highlights to look at you. And those are tougher games.
Yeah.
I'd rather play a North Carolina or a Duke all the time if you ask me, because those games, it don't really matter the name on the back of the jersey. The name on the front of the jersey is gonna make it a good game. So I always look forward to those. So once we got there, all right, it was us, Memphis, UCLA, and North Carolina. Like, come on, this is where we're supposed to be at. And now you can see the coaches, everybody's swagged up, everybody's confident in their team, and may the best man win. And that was our year to win it. It was the 20th year anniversary of the 88 team.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just fell in favor for us. We played against Coach Williams. I actually talked to Coach Williams before the game. I was kind of starstruck. I wanted to be tough, we'll see you tomorrow. But
Yeah.
I broke down, got a picture.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, Quentin Thomas wound up going to North Carolina.
Right.
He got a national championship his freshman year, but North Carolina was one of those schools. They wasn't recruiting me, but if I had made a phone call to try to get recruitment at the time, I think they would have answered.
Right.
But I think Coach Williams said that I didn't pass enough to be a point guard, out of high school.
Oh.
So when I met him before the national championship, I met him before the Final Four game.
Yeah.
He made it his to tell me that, hey, I was wrong about you.
Oh, that must have felt good.
Yeah, so that kind of gave me a little confidence. And then after the game, after we beat him, he reaffirmed that, hey, I think he said you're the best player in the country. That's the average under 10 points a game or something like that. But it was just kind of like they kind of just showed me that I was kind of a valuable person, that he took notice, and
nice.
that was big for me. But
I think it also it's interesting how your journey evolved and how you ended up just knowing and feeling it in your gut, but then also all of the other things you shared about choosing Kansas, but you really set yourself up to win. Right? Like there are things that are attractive about all the different schools, but you kind of know when you find the right fit for your style of play and what makes sense, coming from the coaching staff and the other players that are already there and how they can help you grow as a player. Because like you said, Miles, he'd already been there. So he was able to kind of offer a lot of advice, I'm assuming, and help you get there mentally too, because he's like, listen, we've been there. We can do this. Come here. Let me tell you. So that's also helpful too. So I think there's so many different factors that go into it and I haven't even touched on education. And I just want to shout out that it's not that I don't think it's important. It's just we don't have that much time, and I really want to focus on the basketball of it because I know education is incredibly important and very valuable. So I don't want anyone to think that I am discrediting that part of the recruiting process because it is important, but we just don't have that much time. And I love KU basketball, so that's where we're focusing. So I started to tell you this before we started recording, but so I went to a KU fantasy camp for adults, not for children, a year ago, like a little over a year ago. And so the night that you get to go to Bill Self's house for dinner and all of those things, everyone had a lot to drink. And Bill started telling the story of the 2008 national championship and the chaos that ensued after you guys won. He said he had a suite and everybody's losing their minds. And what player was it that jumped in the water? What was the pool or the lake or the something? The river?
See, that's the funny story because I was preoccupied. I had went to the room. I had sat down, talked with Jock Vaughn, Scott Pollard, Billy Thomas, a couple of other guys from before.
Yeah. Jock Vaughn's like my favorite player ever. I love Jock.
Jock Vaughn's a great guy.
Oh, I love him.
Good luck to him.
And Pollard's awesome,
good luck to him out in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Him and Scott Pollard. I talked to them for a little bit after the game. And then I got I don't know how, but I wound up being with the band.
What?
So the KU band, if you don't know, they really know how to turn up and have fun. So
okay, nice.
All the stories that everybody else have, I'll be like, what happened? How did you get there? I don't know, because I was with the band partying and having a good time. And I knew that I couldn't go to sleep because I had to get up in the morning and do the interview. Post-championship interview. So I didn't really get to enjoy none of the fun that everybody else had. I had a whole different kind of fun with the KU band, and they know how to party, you know, and it was like one of those things that it was just kind of like, wow, y'all on all the trips. I didn't even know y'all can, do this, but they had a good time. So I wound up with them. So I didn't really get to share.
Oh man. So next time, if I end up going back to fantasy camp and I'm there, we're going to call you and I need Bill to tell you the whole story. Cause I don't remember all the details, but I know one of the players jumped in some water. There was a bet and there was a suite and there was craziness that happened. So of course, which as it should. So that's amazing. So one of the other things I want to touch on with you is Do you think college is still the best route for basketball players? Like if you're coming out of AAU or a top high school program. So for example, Lawrence and I were talking about this, LaMelo Ball, and his journey has been very different, right? So some people are going overseas. Some people are taking that year. People are skipping college completely. And now as we start to see the rules kind of change with recruiting and requirements for college or NBA. What do you think? What's your perspective on that? I mean,
I still think college is the way.
okay.
Obviously, if you're exceptional talent like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant's,
Yeah.
Kevin Durant's, you know, in that case, I think you definitely go pursue your professional career as soon as possible. But for everybody else, I think it's college is the way.
Okay.
Overseas is not going anywhere. It's always going to be there. Um, I think college is unique in the sense that if you look at what's going on in America now, a lot of these issues can kind of, if you're cultured enough, it won't be as much of an issue, Because now I'm at Kansas, I'm with somebody, I'm in the classroom with somebody from rural Kansas that don't know nothing about New York City,
Right.
and we're in the classroom together. We have a chance to actually communicate and learn from one another.
I love that.
These are relationships that you're not going to ever get anywhere else in life.
Right.
Because college is one of those things where it don't matter how much money you have or don't have. We all broke college students at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah.
So, it doesn't.
I love that.
You have some frat guys with BMWs and Range Rovers.
Yes.
You have some athletes with hoopties. At the end of the day, we all hang out, party together at the same places, paying $2 for Patron shots. So
Yeah.
at the same time, is one of those things I feel like, it's still value in college.
Right. So not only for an educational purpose, because again, the education is important, but also the basketball, because you're learning a lot about your game and you're growing as a player and you're learning from some really great talent ahead of you, but also the coaching staff. But you're also learning valuable life lessons and you're meeting people that you wouldn't necessarily get to meet. So that, and you learn a lot. That really helps you become a person, right? That you can really take those pieces from all those different places and people that you meet, and that really helps you figure out who you are. I love that.
Yeah. And it prepares you for the real world. And this is the only you're at that age, nobody's made it yet. You know what I'm saying? So we're all the same and we're all equal, and we all have, this at that stage you have the university who most of the time does a great job of being diverse and, catering to everybody's needs and making everybody feel, together. So it's like these relationships, I wouldn't be able to manifest these relationships anywhere else in this form, authentic form,
Yeah.
Once you involve money, the authenticity kind of changes, you don't know if they're being fake for the money or what it's about. So that's one of the things unique about college. And then as far as education, I touch on that too. I had a good friend who was older than me. He went to Providence College named Sekou Kaba. He's from Colum Sickle.
Okay.
Big street ball guy in New York. And he told me, hey, when you go to school, don't stress about the schoolwork, because they have people at the school who gets paid to make sure that you're in a position to do well, and I'm thinking like, hey, I'm smart. I went to Rice.
Yeah.
I did good on the SAT. What are you trying to say? Like, I don't really need help. He was like, no, you have academic advisors. They have tutors. They have all the resources available to you. It's just a matter of you using those resources to your advantage. And then once I get to KU, you notice that the regular students also have the same resources. They have academic advisors. They have tutors and resources to help them, through their stuff. And then once I seen that, then I was like, okay, now we had Scott Ward, Scooter at KU, and he's one of the greatest. And it was almost the way he did it. It felt like I had a personal assistant,
Yeah.
That's the way it felt, and that's how good a job he did.
Right.
I kind of felt like, hey, I sent him over my syllabus. I get a text message, hey, you got a paper due, next week. I need a draft. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wow, that's
email it
amazing.
over to your tutor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I need a draft. All right, Russ, email it over to your tutor. And obviously some people are, better with school than others. And so with some people, he got to be more forceful. But I took care of my business. So that way, even when we did have mandatory study halls and stuff like that, I could be in there on Facebook. I could maybe show up a little bit late.
Yeah.
Or, do whatever, because I took care of my business. So, that's the thing is, and I would say take care of your business and there's a lot of these universities are great. Even the ones with the big, athletic programs, the educational part, they have some great professors. Take advantage of it because it's there
Yeah.
for you, and you represent the university, and the university is there to help. So that's why I
Right.
think education is that part is going to take care of itself if you handle your business.
Right. So recently, if you haven't heard, Kyle Cuffe Jr., who plays at Blair Academy in New Jersey, he has been recruited by several top schools. But 2 weeks ago, he announced that he was recruited by KU. I lost my mind, was dancing all around, so happy. One, because I adore Kyle. I love his game. I actually think he would fit into the Kansas system really, really well. That's just personally. Just got to throw that in there. But I'm super excited for Kyle. Obviously, I would love to see Kyle in Allen Fieldhouse. I would love to see him part of that program. However, obviously, Kyle needs to make the right choice for his family and his game and his future. We wish him all the very best. But if Kyle was here, which he was supposed to join us. Unfortunately, he had to stay late at practice. He texted to let me know. If Kyle was here, what advice would you give him? One, for the recruiting process, and two, can you just give him a little, rock chalk vibes to make him feel the love from Kansas?
Well, first off, shout out, Kyle Cuffe Sr.
Yes.
He was somebody I looked up to. He went to Rice High School as well.
Yes,
He's
nice.
one of those guys that kind of paved the way for us, as far as being highly recruited and stuff like that. So shout out to him.
Nice,
And
definitely.
to Kyle Cuffe Jr., I would say enjoy the process.
Right.
These schools, they're there, to find the best players. Obviously, he's carved out that niche, and I would say enjoy it. Take your visits. I mean, they might have them virtually now. I'm not sure how they're doing it, but
Yeah,
I would
me
definitely
either.
take my visits, and these especially now, with recruitment. I see so many guys got like 12 schools, and
Yeah.
obviously I know he's getting good leadership from senior.
Yes.
So listen to senior. Senior's been there, done that, kind of thing, and
Right.
enjoy the process. Like I'm one of those things that Kansas was like heaven sent for me. And
Right.
you got to find that school that's heaven sent for you. And obviously we all want them at KU.
Yes.
KU is one of those schools that, hey, we do a great job with all our guys. And even if you highly recruited or not highly recruited, you see Devontae
Yeah,
Graham, you
look at
see Frank
yeah,
Mason, you see
exactly.
these stories. You see
Yes.
Mario Chalmers, even
Yes.
Brandon Rushes. You see these guys like,
Yeah.
we doing good, with whoever we bring in,
Yep.
and so, we definitely want to love them having part of our family. But if it, I would definitely, as a New Yorker, I would say, hey, see what's out there, enjoy the process,
Hmm.
and get with your family and make the best decision for y'all. And at the end of the day, wherever you go, you take advantage of the opportunities given to you and put in that work. I'm pretty sure you already know all of that, and have fun,
Yeah.
enjoy it, and it's going to be the best 4 years of your life. So you might as well, if 4 years, who knows? But
Right. Yeah.
it's going
Who
to be the
knows
best
these
time of your
days?
life.
Yeah.
So I mean, I went to KU. I wasn't expecting to stay 4 years. I was
Yeah.
thinking more of a two and done kind of thing,
Uh huh.
but I wound up staying 4. But it's going to be the best time of your life regardless. So
Yeah.
enjoy it, and just wherever you go, you got to put in your work.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that advice. And I'm so glad you stayed 4 years. One, for me as a fan, but
Yeah.
two, for you, because you got that national
Yes.
championship. There's nothing better than
Exactly.
that, right? I mean,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
just so, so, so amazing. I will never forget. You know what? Actually, you know what's so crazy? I met your mother. There used to be a KU bar on the Upper East Side in the
Yep. Yep.
80s. And I used to go there to watch games, and it was that season. And I'm sitting in the bar, and your mother walks in, and she has your jersey on, and I didn't know it was your
Yeah.
mother at first. And so the game's starting, and we get excited, and I'm up, and I'm
Yeah.
cheering, and we're drinking, and we're having fun. And then they're like, "Oh, by the way, that's Russell's mom." And I was like, "Excuse me?" And they're like, "That's Russell Robinson's mom." I was like, "Oh no, it is not. I need to meet her." And so I'm no, she does not remember me, but I did meet your mother at that bar. I can't
Yeah.
remember what it was called right now, but it was in the 80s on Third Avenue. And so I
Yep.
remember
Yep. I've been there.
watching. Yeah, I remember watching the games there. I was so sad when that shut down because I didn't. I loved having a KU bar to go to. But
I've been
anyway,
down there a
so
couple times.
yeah, that was fun. I think it
Yeah.
was called the Back Page. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so what are you up to now?
Yeah, so I'm this is my 13th year
Yeah.
pro. I'm still overseas. I'm kind of getting towards the end of it, my
Okay.
career playing. Kind of figure out what I want to do next.
Okay.
Um, so it's kind of one of those things where I'm kind of like, weighing my options.
Right.
I'm leaning more towards coaching, to be honest. Maybe
Okay,
player
nice.
development side, not necessarily, X's and O's yet.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
I love
I kind of
that.
just, at this point, it's kind of like give back. Obviously you want to help as many people as you can, and
Right.
spread the knowledge because I have a unique journey.
Yep.
Because most guys in my shoes, they go to blue bloods, high blue bloods,
Yep.
and after if they don't go to the NBA, most of them just automatically go into coaching. I actually went
Played.
overseas
Yeah.
and played, for 12 years. So once you're overseas, you're not seeing too many guys from North Carolina, from Duke.
Yep.
Maybe one or two. I mean, only one Duke guy I know that plays. One North Carolina, maybe two North Carolina guys. Like most of the time, you go to the top blue bloods, you almost kind of like, yo, this NBA. I go overseas for a couple years and then I'll get into coaching. So, me having that experience at KU, one of the top programs in the country, and then going overseas and seeing how they do it at all the levels. I played at all the levels in Europe, so
Right.
just to see how have those experiences, I think I bring something unique, to coaching coming back to the
Definitely.
States. So
Do
I
you want
kind
to
of
come
think
back
that's
to
where I
New
want to go.
York, or are you hoping to live
Coaching is one of those things where you kind of got to
go
leave your
wherever?
options open, huh?
Yeah.
I would love to be in New York. I would love to be, but you never know. I might be in Wyoming somewhere.
Right.
Wherever I'm called to be, that's where I'll be at. But um, the main goal is just to help as many kids as I can, and further the game, and
Yeah.
share my knowledge, my wisdom that I receive. So I think that's where I'm at now.
I love that. Well, whenever you come back to New York, we have obviously this podcast, but we have something called the Ballers Journal where we kind of highlight players, coaches, programs throughout the New York City community, and we share their story. And right before Corona hit, we did our very first open run. We had like 9 and 10-year-olds, and then we had a high school group. So we would love to continue doing that. So if you make it back to New York, you have to give us a heads up because I would love to have you swing by an open run and just meet the kids. And I know people would love it. I mean, I would love it. So, I would love it. But no, seriously. So anytime you're in New York, give us a heads up because I would always love to be able, it's always great for players who have played not only just D1, even playing D3. I don't care where you play. And, but it's great that you've won a championship. You've played overseas for so long. You've had such a great career. It's always great to give that knowledge, share that knowledge with the youth. And especially you coming out of New York City and Harlem and the Bronx and Rice. It just feels good for the kids, to look at you and be like, wow, that could be me, so
Yeah.
that would be great to have you. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
It's been so amazing to finally meet you, kind of face to face, and
Yeah.
and for you to share your story. And I think it's really great. We're gonna follow along with Kyle's journey. We'll keep you guys
Yeah.
posted on that. And if he goes to KU, like I will be front row, Allen Fieldhouse, one of those games. You best believe.
Wherever he goes is going to be lit.
Oh yeah, you best believe that. I'm a huge
Yeah.
Kyle Cuffe Jr. fan. I love his game. I really, really love the way he plays. But so anyway, we usually finish the show. Well, Lawrence and I usually finish the show with a quote, and it was Lawrence's turn to write the quote. So I'm gonna read what he wrote. His quote is, "Trust me, when you get to the end, you will realize life isn't about the final destination or your final form. What's more, you'll realize it wasn't society's fault. Live slower, die bigger. Don't miss it the first go around." So I think that's a really great place to end. And like you have said, enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, and find where your heaven sent school. I liked that. That's what you said, I think. Heaven sent, right? Your heaven sent school. So thank you again, Russell Robinson. Where can we find you on social media for anyone who wants to follow along on your journey?
Next 718 star. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Snap.
Okay.
Yep. Next 718 star.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So we will, and obviously I will share that on our page as well. But thank you again so much. This was part of my KU dreams come true. So I'll never forget that
Anytime,
championship
anytime.
game. And that Chalmers shot. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah,
we didn't
crazy.
even get to talk about that yet. But we will do more KU talking about Rock Chalk Jayhawk KU all the way, all day. And thanks again, Russell.
No problem. Anytime.
Okay. Hold on
All
one
right.
second. Are we good?